If you're undecided about which programming language you should use for data visualization, then you're in the right place. In today's video, we're going to talk about the differences between Python and R and which one might be better for data visualization depending on your situation, the strengths and weaknesses of the both. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is McKay. If you're new around here, and on the channel we talk about the tools, tech, and strategies that help us improve our data analytical skills. In today's video, like I mentioned, we're going to talk about Python versus R when it comes to data visualization. So data visualization is actually a key part of data analytics and being able to analyze data. It helps you be able to create pictures and do different things with the data and present that data in a way to maybe other people that aren't able to just, kind of look at numbers. Data visualization is going to do that where it helps us tell the whole story and helps us get the bigger picture of the data and what we're looking at. So in this video, we're going to talk about Python and R. We'll start with the strengths of both of them, then we'll talk about the differences between the two, and then we'll talk about the different situations or circumstances that you might have and which one you should choose. But first, let's start with the strengths. So we'll start with the strengths of Python. And Python is a great programming language, and for data visualization, it actually has a couple of packages that are pretty popular. The first one is called Matplotlib, and this makes your coding and it really makes your plotting and your creation of these visualizations super easy, and as well, a lot of cool customization can be done. The other library or package is called Seaborn, and Seaborn is really good for helping you create really aesthetically pleasing graphs. Another strength that Python has is its huge community. It doesn't matter what you're really doing or what kind of visualization you're creating. I've always, in my personal experience, I've always been able to find a data visualization topic on Stack Overflow or just by Google searching. There's usually a blog dedicated to different problems, different questions, and different ideas. So the huge community is a huge factor into Python and really choosing Python if that's the route you're going to want to go. Another benefit is the syntax of Python. So the syntax of Python is notoriously famous because it's so easy to read. It's kind of like reading the English language a little bit, where you really don't, you can just read it and you can tell what's going on with the actual code. And really within the code, the cool thing about plotting graphs and different visualizations in Python is that you don't need a lot of code to actually create a graph. You really only need about one line of code to be able to create a scatter plot, for example. As well, Python is more of a programming language, if that makes sense. It's more used for software development, data science, analytics. So being able to integrate those with your visualizations is going to be a little bit easier than with R. So now enough about Python, let's jump over to R. So a couple strengths for R is that R is basically a data visualization and statistical language. It was created by statistics. It's used heavily in academics, especially in math and statistics departments. And for people who don't have a very big background in coding, R might be a little bit easier at the beginning. Cool thing about R is that it actually comes built in with visualization packages. So you don't have to import any external libraries like you do in Python. You can essentially just plot straight from R. You really don't need to do anything besides import your data, and then you can plot. It's pretty simple, pretty unique, and that's why a lot of people like R, is because it's really easy to get started. It's easier for beginners to kind of just get started and start creating graphs and visualizations. And especially with libraries such as ggplot, it's really intuitive and it allows for a lot of customization for creating these different graphs. A lot of people think of R to be better for creating graphs. So it's more known for that and being able to create graphs, dashboards, visualizations. The customization of it, it's really cool. And especially where it's easier to learn at the beginning than Python. If you don't have any coding background, it's kind of a plus. Now we've talked about the strengths. What are the differences between the two different programming languages? What's the difference between Python and R? So like I said before, Python is a lot more popular and is more used in actual coding and software development, data science, and analytics. And it has a huge community. I don't know if I can stress about that enough. You're going to be able to find really any sort of answer to any problem that you have. R still has a huge community, but it's definitely not as big. I would say when I've coded in R, I've had a lot of issues trying to find answers to problems that I run into. The syntax as well in R is a little bit iffy, so trying to figure out exactly what you did wrong is kind of frustrating at times. I'll just put it that way. But with syntax, that's a huge difference in Python and R. A lot of people like Python's syntax over R's syntax. Python is just so easy to read. It's like you're reading a book, and it has a lot of easy rules to follow, such as indentation and capitalization, that just makes it really easy compared to R, which R is using a lot of different like symbols and things and commas and periods to define like variables and stuff. And the first time I looked at it, it had me all over the place. Obviously, once you kind of get the grasp of it, it makes more sense. But Python's syntax for me is just top notch. When it comes to visualizations though, R allows for a lot more customization because one, it has that package already built into R, and then two, ggplot is probably the best package for creating visualizations. ggplot allows for a lot of customization, allows for a lot of cool things that you can do, from changing the plot to changing the color to being able to add different things all over the place. You can start creating your own graphs if you want. There's a lot of customization you can do, and ggplot is kind of next level compared to matplotlib and cplot. Another thing R is better at than Python is R is really good for just quick analysis and quick kind of visualizations. Because you need to import stuff from Python to be able to import data very quickly, you can just do it automatically in R. They just have a way that you can read in, like CSVs for example, and it makes it super easy just to read it in, hurry and make some graphs, hurry and do some quick exploratory analysis, which are both two big parts of analytics and data visualization. So now that we've kind of talked about the strengths and weaknesses of the two, what one should you choose? Well, there's a couple of questions that you're gonna have to ask yourself. The first one is, what are your colleagues using? If you're doing this for work, you're probably gonna wanna be using the same thing that your colleagues are working with, because this makes it easier to collaborate, share code, and kind of get help from them if you're all working in the same type of environment and the same language. And if you happen to be doing this just as a personal project but wanna move it into your career, you're gonna have to think, hey, what am I wanting to do with my career? Am I only want to do data visualization, or am I want to do more data science, analytical work, machine learning? Then you'll probably have to decide between Python and R. Python is better for the data science, machine learning, data analysis type stuff because of all the packages that it comes with, but R is pretty good as well. And another thing you're going to want to have to factor into your decision on which to learn is, what are the costs to entry? For example, Python is said to be harder to learn if you don't have any sort of coding experience, but if you do have coding experience, Python might be really easy for you. And then R has been notoriously, famously declared that, it just sounded like Abraham Lincoln right there, notoriously, famously declared. That was stupid. And then as well, you have to decide how long you're gonna be wanting to spend learning the basics and move on to more advanced stuff. Python, for me and for a lot of other people, the advanced stuff is actually easier because you have the basics down. R is a little bit harder with the more advanced stuff because there's a lot of different things going on with the syntax and different packages, and it's just not as intuitive as Python syntax is. With all that being said, either Python or R is great for data visualization. There's no one that's actually better or worse if you're just doing data visualization, but you should take into account other things besides data visualization to make sure that you're choosing the right language that's right for you. For me personally, I've been using Python for most of the time. I really enjoyed Python and helping others get started in Python, so that's the one I recommend. But if you're only interested in really just data visualization and you have no prior coding experience, then R might be a little bit easier for you. That's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe as well, and check out this playlist that has a couple of visualization tutorials for my favorite sport, soccer, and I'll link it just right down here. You can check that out, and I will see you in the next video.